four-wheel drive vehicle? Well, the best way is to read the owner's manual and just drive it. It's that simple. A very pleasant way is the way a group of Ford salesmen learned from the world's prettiest Bronco expert. Here's how she taught them.
Hi, my name is Kathy Wise. A few weeks ago, the Ford Motor Company asked me to help them prove something. They wanted to prove that even a girl who knew nothing about cars or trucks could learn to drive a four-wheel vehicle like the Bronco. So they took me out and explained the four-wheel drive system to me. And within half an hour, I drove the Bronco up a slippery grass hill with a grade of 45% and then back down. If they had showed me this hill in the beginning, I'm sure I never would have got involved. But I did climb the hill and had fun doing it. I took the Bronco through mud, ice, water, and all kinds of terrain, including 40-mile-an-hour curves over loose gravel. I took the Bronco on some weaving roads. There were patches of ice here and there, but Bronco was steady in every turn. The tires squealed like crazy, but there was very little lean in the turns. The Bronco handled like a sports car. Well, I think Ford proved its point. If I can operate Bronco, anybody can. It was really fun for me, and I not only helped Ford prove something about Bronco, the Bronco proved itself to me. The reason why I found Bronco so easy to drive is that it was designed to be easy for anybody to drive, including women. And that's why Bronco is becoming so popular with women as well as men. Bronco's easy steering and handling makes it the perfect car for shopping, picking up the kids from school, or just running errands. Actually, learning to drive the Bronco was easy, and I really didn't think it would be. All that talk about four-wheel drive, transfer case, free running hubs kind of scared me. And it may sound complicated to the prospects, too, especially the prospect's wife. So I'd like to show you how it was explained to me, all right? Here we go. To begin with, Bronco has a standard 3-speed manual transmission with a gear shift lever mounted on the steering column. The shift pattern is standard, just like any two-wheel drive car. This is a typical drive line for the average two-wheel drive car. Here's the engine, behind it the transmission, and here's the drive shaft carrying power to the rear axle and wheels. As you can see, there is no front axle and so no power going to the front wheels. Now let's turn it into a four-wheel drive Bronco. First, we'll add a front axle with differential gears and so on. Now we can drive the front wheels if we can deliver the power to those wheels. Well, we can't run the drive shaft through the center of the engine, so we'll put it off to one side, like this. Now we've got to tie the drive shaft into the powertrain, and we do this by adding a transfer case, which transfers power to the front axle as well as to the rear. Now we've got power going to all four wheels. The transfer case does far more than just transmit power. It gives Bronco its versatility. For example, it gives you a choice of using two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive just by pulling a lever. It also gives you a choice of power ranges because the transfer case has two sets of gear ranges, high and low. In high range, Bronco has normal speed and pulling power. In low range, you get less speed, but you get tremendous pulling power, about twice as much as in high range. And the beauty of this type of four-wheel drive system is that it gives you a combination of choices. This represents the gear shift lever for Bronco's transfer case. This is four-wheel drive low, neutral, two-wheel drive high, and four-wheel drive high. Now, once you put the transfer case lever in each of these positions, you operate the 3-speed manual transmission just as you would in any car. The neutral position is used only when operating a winch or other power takeoff-driven equipment. For normal driving on city streets and highways, you use 2H, two-wheel drive in high range. This disconnects the front drive shaft so there's no power going to the front wheels. But suppose you're on snow or mud or sand and your rear wheels are spinning. You just shift into four-wheel drive high. This means you keep the same high speed range, but now you've got power going to all four wheels. You've got twice the traction, so you cruise right through the snow or mud or sand. Now you see a steep grassy hill in front of you and you want to get over it. You might be able to make it in 4 high if you have a running start, but if the hill is too steep or if you don't have room for a running start, you may lack the sheer power to climb it. In this case, all you do is shift into 4-wheel drive low. Now you've got both the extra traction of 4-wheel drive plus the extra pulling power of the low-speed range. And 4-low can also be used in climbing over boulders or up embankments or any time you want a slow, controlled pace without worrying about stalling the engine. Whichever position the transfer case lever is in, you still operate the 3-speed transmission in the usual way. All right, let's get this clear in our minds about when we use the various combinations of 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, high and low ranges. For dry city streets and highways, you use 2-wheel drive high. In fact, on this type of dry, hard surface, you should avoid using 4-wheel drive altogether. And that's because the front and rear wheels travel at slightly different speeds in a turn. And even slight differences in front or rear tire diameter will cause the 2 drivetrains to fight each other and you lose power. But there's no problem on sand or snow or mud because the tires are free to slip and the 2 drivetrains don't fight each other. Now, on snow or sand or mud or other soft ground, remember we use 4-wheel drive high. That's because we don't need any extra pulling power, but we may need extra traction. Now, up those extreme grades, you need both the extra traction plus the extra pulling power. So you shift from 4 high to 4 low. Now you can climb almost anything at a slow, steady, controllable pace. And remember, also when you're climbing over boulders or up steep embankments, you also use a 4-low combination. In fact, when you're descending these extreme grades in 4-low, you don't need to use a brake. Just take your foot off the gas and let the engine act as a brake, because the combination of engine braking, 4-wheel drive, and low speed range gives you far more control over the descent than your brakes ever could. Now let me show you how these combinations work in action. Now both the transmission and the transfer case are neutral. As you can see, no wheels are turning. Now I'll shift the transfer case into 2 high, 2-wheel drive and high range for normal use, and the transmission into 1st gear. As you can see, only the rear wheels are turning and the front drive shaft is not turning. Now we'll shift into 4 high, and we can do this by putting in the clutch. We don't have to stop the car. Here we go. Watch the front wheels. Now the front wheels as well as the rear are turning. This would give us total traction, if we were on the ground, that is. And of course, the front drive shaft is turning, delivering power to the front wheels. Now notice how fast the wheels turn in high range compared to the engine speed. I'm going to shift into 4 low. Now you can see that the wheels turn more slowly even though the engine speed is about the same. You get less speed, but you get tremendous pulling power instead. This flexibility is what lets you go practically anywhere in a Bronco. You'll notice this unit has the optional free-running hubs in front. The Bronco will operate perfectly well without them. They're not really necessary, but most 4-wheel drive buyers want them. So let me tell you about them. Without free-running hubs, the front axle, front drive shaft, and gears in the transfer case all turn when the car's in motion. And that's because the front wheels are connected to this part of the drivetrain, and as the wheels roll, they actually turn the drivetrain. It works just like when you're pushing a car to start it. Instead of the drive shafts and axles turning the wheels turn the axles and drive shafts. The free-running hubs disconnect the wheels from the axle and drive shaft, so these parts don't turn, even in 2-wheel drive. If you look closely at the hubs, you'll see they have little handles for locking and unlocking. In 4-wheel drive, you turn the handles to line up with the 2 lines on the hub. In 2-wheel drive, you turn the handles to unlock. I'll start the engine and we'll try it. Now we're in 4-wheel drive. All 4 wheels are turning, and so, of course, is the front drive shaft. Now we'll shift to 2-wheel drive. If If we were on the ground, the front wheels would also be turning, and so would the front axle and drive shaft, even though there's no power coming from the transfer case. We can stop all that unnecessary motion by unlocking the hubs. Let's have a volunteer turn the hubs to unlock. Now the wheels are disconnected even from the front drivetrain. Now we'll shift to four-wheel drive. You can see that with the hubs unlocked, even four-wheel drive doesn't move the front wheels. Now let's lock them again. Now everything, front and rear drivetrains and all four wheels are moving. Well, that's what Bronco's four-wheel drive is all about. Simple, isn't it? Now we'll show you what Bronco's four-wheel drive can do. You'll notice we placed a railroad tie in front of the Bronco. I can drive over it very easily, but which combination of gears will I use? 2 high, 4 high, or 4 low? Let's try it and find out. I'll start off in 2 high. I guess I can't make it. I'll try it now in 4 high. All right, that still doesn't work, so now we'll try 4 low. And back over. As I said before, if I can drive Bronco, anybody can. It's really easy to drive and lots of fun, too. Why don't you try it?
Yes, as Kathy found, the best way to learn Bronco driving is to get behind the wheel yourself.